Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday. Really strong day today, actually. The market started off down a little bit across all of the indexes and then really went up very nicely. The S&P 500 was up 0.8% for the day. Very, very good day altogether. Makes up for yesterday a little bit. We had a nice bounce back as far as that goes. So I would like to answer a question that's been coming up quite often, and that's just simply, will the Delta variant end up bringing this market down? We've seen this big surge. It's, all over the US. It's happening throughout the world and what have you. And it's likely that, we're going to continue to see some issues coming from that particular variant of the virus. And so, that has some impact on the economy. And will there be enough of an impact to bring down the stock market at some point in time? So let me share a few things with you and kind of give you some of my thoughts on that as to what's going on here. So first of all, share my screen here. This is a website I really like called ETF.com. And here's VOO. It's one of our biggest holdings, the Vanguard S&P 500. And if we kind of scroll down here, we can see the little chart for, how it's been doing for the last 3 years. We can see the big drop that happened, when the virus happened, and a very unbelievable recovery all the way through as far as that goes. So keep that in mind. And if we look at kind of the number of cases here in the US, this is just straight off of Google, looking up the United States, all regions. And you can see, we've had a bubble and another, run up here. And if we kind of look here, about the beginning of September, we hit a relative low point and then really, really had a lot of cases all the way through, the very beginning of January. And if you look at what's happening right now, it's looking a little bit like what was happening in here. We're definitely seeing some growth. But if we keep in mind just kind of taking a look at what happened here from September through January, and we go back and look here at this chart, and we look for September here, which is right in this time frame. And if you look, the market was coming down a little bit there, but look at the growth that we had from the end of September all the way through, that January timeframe. So really phenomenal growth, even with this huge bubble happening. So having said that, if you take a look at kind of what has happened in the last month as all of these cases have been coming up, you can see one thing here. The big winner has been kind of this large gross segment here. And most of these indexes, like the S&P 500, have a majority of their stocks in this category. And you can see where the red is here, the value side and the small cap side. These are the things that might be more economically sensitive. And so if the market does tend to have some trouble with the variant, like it did last year, some of these areas also did fairly poorly in that time frame. And so if we go back to the S&P 500, though, and we scroll down a little bit farther, we can see like the top 10 holdings, and there's 500 stocks in here, but the top 10 are worth 27.3% of the weighting of the total S&P 500. So just 10 stocks make up more than a quarter of the total movement. And if you look at those 10, they're all big growth companies: Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, the two alphabets, Berkshire Hathaway. Technically, that could be a value play, but Tesla, Nvidia, JP Morgan might fit in the value category also, but all big companies. And so a majority of the driver that's happening here is coming from, these particularly large companies. And so if you look at that, to kind of answer the question in a succinct manner, will the Delta variant have a big impact on the stock market? It didn't before. And part of the reason is because the Federal Reserve kept interest rates low. They continue to purchase bonds. So we'll see if that continues here. I think that they probably have more room to continue doing that if the Delta variant is coming up, and hopefully that's stimulative. And then the other thing that happened was that Congress kept putting out, stimulus packages. We actually had 3 altogether, 2 last year and 1 this year. And so again, that's another thing that's, stimulative to the stock market. And right now they're working on this infrastructure plan that they're hoping to get done by the end of the month. We'll see what happens there. That one's spread out over an 8-year period. It won't be massively stimulative, but the market will probably react positively to that, at least in the short term. So I don't think that this has a massive impact overall. I do think you want to be in those types of indexes that have that kind of large growth type stock in it, as far as I'm concerned, just because I think there might be some reopening that is a little bit slower than expected. International travel will probably, take a while to get going again. With this variant running around and what have you too. So, you might have to kind of pick and choose a little bit, where you're at as far as that goes. But there is a pretty strong movement now towards these kind of big companies that you see in the S&P 500. And you see in these total stock market index and what have you, that really has been driving forward as far as that goes. So that's my thought on that right now. Something to watch for. There's always lots of threats to see what's going to happen. I still think the big focus should be on the Federal Reserve, even more than the Delta variant, and maybe even what's happening in China as they kind of crack down on their technology companies to see what impact that might have. And the Delta variant is definitely something to watch. But so far, and in the past, we haven't seen a huge impact to the stock market. It has done quite well in that environment as far as that goes. So, we'll see what happens, but look forward to seeing what's going to happen tomorrow. Thank you very much.